Do it.
Hey Laura, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's okay. After last week's video, we both agreed that there was so much content that we need to basically start picking it apart and fleshing it out. Um, yeah, so that's what we're going to do over the next 3, 4 weeks, however long it takes.
Yeah, I'm excited. Every
Yeah.
time we come on, it's just like, I don't know, it's just so nice to be able to share our stories and be able to share that value with people who maybe haven't heard about the
Mm.
stuff that we're talking about, or they're brand new to this stuff, or even if they have heard it, like just I find to hear other people's stories really just validates our own experience in many ways as well. So it's super neat to be able to come on here, and I'm grateful for
Yeah.
the space that you're holding.
Yeah. Oh no, thank you. And thank you for coming back. So yeah, so for myself, it is very vulnerable to share stories. It really is because I mean, I grew up in an era where you just had to be strong and battle through and, don't stop to do the whole emotional thing.
Yeah.
So to be able to actually have a platform where I can share my stories, which is what I have been doing with all my guests that have come on board. And it's just been like a natural thing. I can share my story that's related to that topic that we're talking about. So today
Mhm.
I'm really excited to deep dive further into what you and I spoke about last week.
Mhm.
Mm. And I'm going to hand over to you.
Sure.
I'm going to trust you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So last week when we were chatting, we had, well, I can't remember how it came up, to be completely honest, but I shared a little bit about my story about the dark night of the soul.
Mm.
And thinking back, like there was a time when I didn't know what the heck that was. I luckily got guided to it slightly before, divinely guided to it right before I kind of went through the dark night of the soul. So I knew kind of what I was experiencing. And our intention for our chat today is just to really share more about our experiences through the dark night of the soul and share a little bit more about what exactly that is.
Mm.
And if you're moving through some kind of heavy times right now, then this may be something that you'll resonate with. And our hopes is really that you feel more inspired kind of moving through everything that you're moving through, because it can feel heavy. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
And I
Even
know you
doesn't seem
mentioned,
that way. Yeah.
yeah. And I know you mentioned, well, that you've been through multiple dark nights of the souls and it's kind of been like progressing. So I'm curious. I know even last week I wanted to ask you this,
Yes.
but I'm curious if you'd be open to sharing a little bit more about your experience, maybe starting from that first one and when that first was for you and what was happening in your life.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I've been through several of them and I know what they are now. So I'm moving through them very, very quickly. But the first
Mm-hmm.
one was quite traumatic because I had no idea what was happening. And I guess the reason I've been through so many of them is because I'm so stubborn. I'm a stubborn hardhead.
I love it.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's perfectly okay. So I remember the first one happened. Um, it was about 2 or 3 months after I finished my spiral practitioner training. And I was in my room. It was late at night. And as usual, my brain goes into overload and starts thinking about everything. Um, and I remember at that time, I was just laying in bed. It was pitch black. And I saw these four giant beings come into my room through the window, over the river, through the window into my room. And I laid back there in my nonchalant way. And I went, "Oh, this is interesting. Who are you?" And they and they said, "Oh, we are the Federation of One, and we're here to help." And I went, "Oh, that's cool." Not thinking any more about it. And then they just wafted out again. I thought, and I laid there for a while, and I thought, "Wow, that was huge." I don't know what the meaning of that was, but yeah, I'm open to it. Whatever I need help with, or as a collective, we need help with, I know that
Mm-hmm.
they're there. And it was shortly after that I remember waking up about 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was like my head was screaming at me. It was so loud, and I could not get rid of the voices in my head. And I'm not schizophrenic or anything. My mother's had me tested. I'm fine. Um, but it was like this screaming in my head, and it felt like it felt like I was dying. It really did. My body was in so much pain, and I was writhing and wriggling, and I couldn't settle, but it was the screaming in my head that got me the most. And I had no idea what was happening. So I was messaging my son at like 2:30 in the morning, and he's telling me to take a deep breath. I'm 2:30 in the morning. Who does that? So he's telling me, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. And I remember thinking, what the fuck? That's what you have to say to me? And I wrote back and I said, fuck off. And he goes, okay. God love him. So yeah, that went on for 3 days. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and I could not get rid of this noise. It wasn't just your voice talking to you. It was screaming. And I can't remember the words. I can't remember what was actually said, but I remember that 3 days later, I woke up, and I wrote about this in a post on Facebook about 4 years ago. And I woke up and I went, oh, this feels good. Whatever that was, this feels good. I felt empty. I felt light. I felt release. And that's when I realized, when I was talking to a colleague, she said, it sounds like you went through the dark night of the soul. And I went, what the hell is that? And we had this conversation. I realized that if you want to experience or feel high, so if you, that is weird. Every time I talk about stuff like this, I have computer problems. I'm not going to re-record. We're just going to go ahead. But my computer literally shut itself down and it came back up again all by itself.
And it seems fine now.
Yeah, it seems fine now. So that's when I realized that during this conversation with this friend of mine, is that if you want to ascend, experience higher levels of consciousness, you can't do that while you're holding on to cement around your feet. And that's what the dark night of the soul is. It's a way of getting rid of the lower energies, the lower heaviness, those lower thought patterns. They have to go. You cannot go through, or you cannot do what you need to do if you're a spiritual teacher, healer, whatever it is. If you're carrying around trauma from the past, or the heaviness of the thoughts and beliefs about yourself from not only your past, but the past of ancestors. So after that, I went, oh, it just feels so freeing and so beautiful. So since then, I've had 3 or 4 of them, but I've recognized what it is, and I've been able to move through it a lot quicker, so much quicker. So I call on my guides, I call on these beings for help to move me through, to show me in an instant what's actually happening. So I have that emotional intelligence now to be able to do that. So, yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. And I recently went through another one with the help of a colleague, where she led me through an emotional clearing session. And it was like a 20-minute conversation. But in that conversation, I realized that I have been working through or acting through my childhood wounds, my childhood trauma. And I saw that even though, yes, I am a grown-up woman, and so this inner child of mine, I saw her as a separate entity. Even though I know that I'm integrated, she's one with me, and I'm one person, I could literally see this inner child, as a separate entity. And whenever I would experience triggers, she would step forward and she would then react. And it wasn't until I went through this session with this colleague that I went, oh, got it. It's not me. It is, but it's actually not me, but it's her reacting, and I was reacting through her according to the wounds, because the wound hadn't been healed yet, whatever that was. And once I recognized that, once I saw that I was allowing her to bring her hurt through and react through the hurt, I went, oh, it's going to be, I was able to comfort her and say, it's going to be okay. We're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for always wanting to keep me safe. Thank you. But I'm okay. We're okay. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just been phenomenal that I can now show up in the world as a grown-ass woman, not as this socially awkward child that was
Yeah.
afraid of everything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's just this newness that has come through.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where, like, we've got Sydney's got the Harbour Bridge, we've got the Tasman Bridge, and it's quite a big arch. And I haven't really shared this with a lot of people, but driving over that bridge when we get 100-kilometre winds, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And then one day I was just driving across the bridge and I went, what is this? We're fine. Where's the fear coming from? I'm fine. And that's when she popped up again and she said, I just want to keep you safe. And I said, sweetheart, we are safe. We're fine. We're okay. And it was at that point that fear left my body. I can drive over that bridge in a heartbeat, singing the whole way. And it's like, now I can recognize what's actually happening quicker and I can deal with it quicker, because at the end of the day, we're still human. You've frozen.
You cut out again, Noelle.
Did I? Yeah, you froze as well.
Are you back?
Every time I go deep and talk about this stuff, the technology goes, okay, we're going to test you right now. Okay, so where did we get up to? I'll wait for it to come in. I don't know.
Again.
I don't know whether it's just weird. This has never happened before. This is weird. This is
Yeah.
weird. Obviously, the message, because I can feel it in my body, it's so calm. Obviously, this message needed to come out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it cut out just when you were sharing that you went over the Tasmania Bridge and
The
you're
Tasman.
feeling a lot of fear. Yeah.
It was irrational. It was irrational, but it was real. And I would
Yeah.
get to the peak of this bridge and I would literally freeze. I would freeze and I would hold my breath and I couldn't drive the rest of the way. I'd sort of crawl. Everyone behind me is doing 70 and 80 and I'm going, oh my God, irrational
Mm-hmm.
fear. And that's when I tapped into that fear and I said, what's happening? Why is this appearing again? And that's when
Mm-hmm.
my inner child said, we just want to keep you safe, old patterning. And I said, sweetie, we're safe. We're fine. Everything's fine. We're
Mm-hmm.
safe. And it
Mm-hmm.
was in that split second moment, it was like literally a split second where everything changed. Everything changed. The fear left. She's fine. We're safe.
Mm.
Yeah. And that was so going through the episodes of Dark Night of the Soul, I welcome them now. I welcome them because my higher self, my future self knows what needs to be removed so I can move to the next level. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
fight it anymore and it comes and goes now very quickly. But it is
Mm-hmm.
terrifying. It's absolutely terrible. You think you're going to die and your body goes through this physical pain. It
Mm-hmm.
hurt a lot. I remember it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, it really is like that higher self connection that
Yeah.
helps pull you through all of this purging that
Yeah.
happens as we continue
Yeah.
to like purify our vessels as we kind of go through. And I know it was kind of a little bit choppy there. I'm curious, one question going all the way back to the beginning, Noelle, when
Mm.
you mentioned that those beings came to you, was that your very first spiritual experience or had you had other ones prior to that?
I've had quite a few. This one was big. This one was
Yeah.
preparing for what was coming. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've been a very spiritual being, all the way back to when I was a child. But
Okay.
I was, I mean, coming into a country, emigrating from Lebanon, coming into a country where you were the only dark-skinned people in the whole street, in the whole school. You were different anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So now to add on top of that, I could see into people's souls. Oh, it just made me weird. Everyone just thought I never quite fit in. I never fit in because I remember just as a 3-4 year old, I could look at someone and I could see their heart. I could see what was going on in their mind. I could just clearly see it. But because that was sort of beaten out of me, society said, don't be weird, you've got to fit in, and that whole thing. Plus being Lebanese and taking weird food to school. It's quite normal now, but back then, no, it wasn't. It wasn't. So I shut it down and I shut it down and I shut it down. So now, so I stepped back into it about 20, 30 years ago, and it's just been developing ever since. But I'm still at that point where I have to say, trust your intuition.
Yeah.
The human keeps coming up in me and saying, no, that can't be real. No, that's not real. You're just making shit up now. Yeah. So I just have to keep trusting my intuition, trusting that what I'm feeling and seeing is absolutely real. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody's experience is so different too. It's interesting, kind of, I feel like before I was so conditioned to seeing life one way, and it wasn't until I kind of went through mine where I started realizing that everybody's reality is so different. You know, like we attract people that are like us for the most part, but then we put on all these shells and all of this like layers of protection from like our childhood, where then we end up being like not even ourselves at some point in our life. And then it's like having to then peel back all of those layers of like, okay, like I'm wanting to come into that authentic true self again, because you don't even really recognize like who you are at a soul level anymore. And I think it's beautiful, like everything that you kind of went through, and now being on this mission to really be able to bring your story to more people so that people can not feel crazy when you go through experiences like that, you know, because it is real, you know, and for somebody to say that something is or isn't real, you know, like every human experience is completely different. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I took out of like one of the learnings, is that there really is no right or wrong. It's really just a different perspective or from different experiences that people have had. And who are we to say what is true and what isn't true for people? And I think that's where a lot of it kind of goes wrong in the mental health system, where they put a lot of things in boxes, you know, and then we hold then a lot of shame for the experiences that we have, which then just piles on top of the experiences that we already have, that we already feel weird for. And then we're then carrying around this like bag of shame, thinking that like, oh my gosh, like what the heck am I doing having these experiences or anything like that.
That was huge. What you just said was absolutely huge. That was a huge aha for me right there, is that you're peeling off layers of other people's opinions of you. That's what it is, isn't it? Getting rid of
like the conditioning, right? Because even like the stories that our parents told us or this or that, like it all sticks. Like I see it in my nieces now. Well, my oldest niece, she's 4, and I know just from like learning about the brain, like when you're young up until age 7, like it's just like you don't have this filter, right? So it's basically just this open filter that comes in, and whatever comes in, you're seeing as truth in your reality. And then it's not until after that that your conscious mind starts like having this kind of like filter, being like, okay, yeah, that seems true, that doesn't seem true, yes or no. But all of that 7 years of that initial filter is already there, like literally taking all of the data that's coming in and filtering it. So you're already seeing a distorted view already at age 7 based off of that. So it's like, it's interesting kind of the whole human experience with it all, because it all depends on our experiences and the beliefs that came in. And I know I believe in like reincarnation. So I believe that, and I even had my astrologer tell me this, specifically with a situation with my father, how he said in a past life, and it's all just kind of karma playing out in a past life, out of good intentions, and my dad was playing a different role in that lifetime, and I did something that really messed him up and really screwed him over. And so now in this lifetime, he's here to feed his belief system. And my dad's amazing, love him to death, but just a very kind of scarce mentality when it comes to a lot of things, which just put a lot of like scarcity into my brain that I've really had to filter through and kind of get rid of all of these stories. And it's interesting because it is all karma kind of replaying out. And it's just like, when you look at the grander picture of it all, it's like all of it's perfect. So we're either paying off karma, or we're creating karma, or we're sitting in a neutral space. And it's just like so wild when you can start really understanding all of that, and how we all play kind of these roles in each other's lives to have all of this stuff happen. And we're all here to transmute it. we're all here to level up. We're all here to really step
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
the highest evolution of our soul, whatever that looks like in
Yeah.
this lifetime. But
That's
it's
right.
not easy, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's not easy at all because, we live in this very dense 3D world.
Yeah,
Yeah. But every person, the way that I see life now is every person is a mirror to me.
for sure. Yeah.
100%. That's why I truly believe we're living in a simulation, an illusion, because
Yeah.
everyone is a mirror to me. It's like,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people hate the mirror theory. I love it. I absolutely love it simply because it shows me where I'm at and what I still need to work through.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. It's like they either grate me the wrong way, and I think, oh, that's interesting. What is that? What do I need to deal with now, for the love of God?
Yeah. What have you
Everyone,
activated within me?
it's
Another journey, man.
another one. Gee, God. No wonder I'm a hermit.
Totally.
But it is, I see everybody as a mirror,
Me too. Yeah.
and I'm a mirror for them as well. So in that respect, I take nothing personally.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. Don't take it personally.
100%.
If I've triggered you, work on the wound.
Mm-hmm.
Don't write a new law about it. Don't change the status quo. Work on the wound, because I've touched something in you.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be healed. And that goes for me as well.
Yeah.
Right? If you've irritated me or said something and I've taken offense, it's not the person who delivered the message. It's not their responsibility. What is it in me that took offense? What needs to be healed? That's what I now look at. And that's where the dark night of the soul takes you, is that you can see things a lot quicker, and you can heal a lot quicker, because we don't, the way that I'm seeing life now is we don't have time to lollygag around and sugarcoat anything anymore. Time is rapidly speeding up so fast that we need to get to that place we need to get to quickly. Right? I don't have the luxury, and I don't want the luxury of languishing in bed, for days on end, clutching my pearls. That expression, I'm going to clutch my pearls. I don't have that luxury, and I don't want that luxury at all. We've got, so that's the way I'm seeing, is our timelines are shifting so quickly that we can't keep up. But we are strategically, and if you are a light worker, if you don't like that terminology, that's okay. Whoever you are on the planet, if you've been called to this work, you're being strategically placed wherever you are. Wherever you are going to be a light. God, I saw this vision 30 years ago at least, is that we are all being strategically placed around the planet, and we're these light beams going out into the universe.
Yeah, it's really cool when you can kind of see it all as like this ripple
Yeah.
through all of it, because
Yeah,
you're either
exactly.
adding to the energy of it, or you happen to be
Yeah.
decreasing from it.
Yeah.
And we're all gonna have those moments where we're kind of lowering the vibration.
Yeah.
But then that's really where the real work comes in, and that's like
Yeah.
the dark night of the soul, right? Like having
Yeah.
to start acquiring the tools to be able to work through our own stuff that comes up,
Yeah.
so that we can not be feeling so uncomfortable in our bodies and start living the life that we want, and start feeling good.
Yes.
Living the
Yeah.
lives that we authentically want to create.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. And understanding also, the other thing that it's helped me realize is that, and this is where I get stuck a lot. This is where I can see people's eyes glazing over, where I go, I know I live in a 3D body. I know that. I'm not delusional, but my mind, my spirit, my heart lives in a different dimension. I can see things in a different dimension, a different aspect of it. But I do live in this, like that. That's where the Bible verse comes in, that we are in the world, but we're not of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know I live in a 3D world. I know I live in the density of this energy. But my understanding is somewhere else. So I can see that so clearly, clearly. I think my biggest challenge is just to be patient with people. They're not there yet. They're not there
Yeah.
yet. I'm there to
Yeah.
help you get there.
Yeah. The word the way shower just kind of came into my mind.
Ooh.
And it really is like I feel like it is that, you know, there's so many people that have that kind of
Mm,
higher perspective and you see that things in the world aren't working, but then you can
mm.
feel very isolated when
Yeah,
you're surrounded by other people that just aren't seeing it and they can kind of like poke at those wounds where we want to be understood or we want to be
yeah.
like validated for our own experience. And it's like
Mm,
it's so valid because I feel like it really is that like you're seeing a different
mm.
perspective that's meant to be brought down into this
Yeah,
earlier world so that we can bring the ideas in, bring the vision in, bring the
yeah.
change that needs to come so that there's not all of this craziness and chaos happening in the
Mm,
world because my goodness, there's so much more possible
that's
where I
right.
know we're just cycling through a cycle that we're going
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
but being able to
Exactly.
shift through that, like I do believe that it is being accelerated right now. And I think that the shifts
Totally.
that are happening are definitely happening a lot quicker when we
Quicker.
choose.
Yeah, a lot quicker.
And when we resist it, then it just is going to get a lot more painful. And that's
Mm,
where when we resist things, that dark night of the soul can be activated
mm,
because then it's really calling us to shed the ego, to shed the
mm.
fear, and really be able to start learning the tools to be able to
Yeah, yeah,
understand more
yeah,
of ourselves and connect
yeah.
with that higher power so that we can
Mm.
do all of the things that we're meant to do.
Yeah, exactly. But this is
Mhm.
also like if you can see into the other dimensions and you can see into the 3D world, you're standing in this place. And this is where I want to get to every single day is standing in a place of zero neutrality, where
Mhm.
I'm not adding fear and doubt into this physical plane,
Yeah.
yet I'm not solely living over here. I can see both. Right?
Mhm.
And they're both, I think we spoke about this before. For me, karma is balance. And believe it or not, there is balance in the universe. There is, it's balanced. But it's to get into this place of zero neutrality where you're not adding to what's happening, but you can still see what's happening over this side of the fence, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
when someone speaks to me, and I know that everyone's at the different level, but when someone comes to me and goes, "Oh my God, the world's in a mess and this is happening, and that's how we're all going to die and we're going to blow up and the nuclear weapons," and I go, "Stop, just stop." Number one, I don't want that in my energy field, and number two, you've just added a whole lot of shit to the karmic bank over here. Stop.
Mhm.
How about we look
Mhm.
at it this way? How about we reframe it and see it this way?
Mhm.
And I get people are scared. I get that. I get everyone's frightened. I really do. But I look after my emotional space first before I can
Mhm.
help someone else.
Mhm. And it is like I feel like it's one of the biggest addictions that we
Mm,
have as humans is addicted
mm,
to our own suffering or our own
mm.
chaos, right? When you've been born and that's your kind of set point with your nervous system
Yeah,
is chaos, like that becomes the safety zone for your body and for your mind,
yeah,
right? So shifting out
yeah.
of it is complex and hard. So you really
Mm,
do have to set those firm boundaries so that as you're healing your nervous system and as you're kind of stepping into feeling more pleasurable and feeling more peace, like
yeah.
it's a very drastic polarity to have that always coming in. I know that even with my mom today, my mom's amazing. However, today I was going to pick something up. I was picking up a diaper bag. I bought something
Mm,
off of Marketplace for the baby, and I
yeah,
was meeting this lady out the Walmart parking lot. And my mom, like before I left, she's like just warning me about like
yeah.
being in a like making sure that I'm safe and all this stuff. And she's like, that's what they do. Like they kind of like come and kidnap people that way. And I'm just
Mm,
like, I can't even deal with this right now.
mm, mm.
I'm like, I'm gonna go. And I came home and I was like, oh, she was a beautiful, lovely lady, you know, and she got the diaper
Yeah,
bag, she's got two
yeah,
kids, like,
yeah,
but it really is, it's that fear. And we can all get caught into
yeah.
those kind of fear traps at times, but being able to really cut those stories out of our
Mm,
mind and not even feed them because our
mm,
minds and our thoughts are so
mm.
powerful. And it really is like feeding this channel of what's happening. And the more we
Yeah,
can start like focusing on the kind of higher perspectives, then like
Yeah.
it's going to keep feeding, it's going to fuel that fire instead.
Yeah.
So we just need more people to continue like
Exactly.
snipping the fear cords and
Yeah.
continue
Yeah.
to channel it into the kind of the newer earth that we're beginning to create.
Exactly.
Oh, hi, puppy.
This is Max. Yeah, and
Hi,
also
Max.
just to understand, just for people to have an awareness that the Earth is just going through a natural cycle of evolution. That's all that's happening. I mean, I know I've simplified it. There's a lot more happening. Whatever's happening right now has to happen, because as the dark night of the soul happens individually, it's happening as a collective, and it's happening on our planet. The planet's going through a dark night of the soul, purging everything that's been there since day dot. So that gives me a lot of comfort that this is another evolutionary phase of the earth. Again, I've got to dig out all my prophecies that I recorded years ago from the Federation of One. One of them was about Africa and the origins of Africa. That was that was powerful. I got to go back. Mother Africa.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yes, it was fascinating. I had no idea. I don't know. I don't go studying or researching this stuff. It's like my brain is a receptor for it. And sometimes I write it down, sometimes I speak it, but it is, people do look at me and go, oh my God, what is she on about now? And I've been compared to the prophet of doom. I go, no, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And sometimes it is dark. Sometimes what I'm seeing is dark, and that's okay, because we live in a dark world. I'm not going to make bones about it. Go, Max. Yeah. So, it's an interesting place to be. Interesting. But I'm so grateful to have a platform where because years ago, my guide said to me, all we need you to do is open your mouth and speak. That's all we need. So when they first gave me that message, I then had to work on my own self-esteem issues. And who the fuck's going to listen to me anyway? I remember when I was in grade 3, a teacher said, look, I've had this voice forever. And this, again, new Australian in a school filled with Anglo-Saxons. And this teacher said to me, oh, you've got a really dark voice. That shut me down for 3 years. I remember not speaking for about 3 years. 3 years I didn't speak. Whatever this dark voice meant. For my little 6-year-old brain intercepted that and interpreted that as to mean it's bad. So don't speak. It's taken me a long time to find my voice, to work through that. And I do want to get on to I want to have YouTube lives where I can just invite people in and we talk and just see what comes out. Yeah, so that's what they said. They said, open your mouth and speak. We need you to speak, because they can't. They can't feel. Whoever you want to say, they can't feel, but we can. They feel through us. They experience the world through us, and I think that's magical. That's so magical that we can do that for them. Our future self coming in now. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent again.
That's okay.
And I've got 4 minutes and 44 seconds left, so we might end it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
This has been so lovely, but again, let's continue this and let's dive even deeper.
Yeah, thank you for sharing more about your story. And I love it. It's just like there's so much complexity to all of our lives, and it's so amazing because it's like it doesn't matter where people came from or what the stories were that we received when we were young. Like we all have the capacity to be able to shift through it, and the resources now, especially with technology. Like it's literally just like, that's another huge reason it's all amplifying in speed as well, is because we have access to so much, which can be a detriment and also a value. We definitely have to filter how much we're taking in, because we can only take in so much.
However you perceive it. Yeah, one day I'll share my story when I had a conversation with them about the flat earth. I want to share my
that's one that I would love to hear.
I want to share my story around that. Oh my gosh.
So what is it? Is it flat or is it round?
Okay, so reality in a nutshell, reality depends on
in like 2 minutes.
Reality depends on who's viewing it. So they said it's both round and flat. It depends on who's viewing it. Your reality is shaped by what you see.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. See, simple answer. And it makes sense.
Both round and flat. It's whatever you, but it's not worth fighting over, people. It's not worth fighting over.
Not worth fighting over
it.
Yeah, just another example of there's no right or wrong. There's only different.
It's perception. It's literally just how you perceive it to be is your truth and reality. So you shape what you see. Yeah, simple.
Incredible. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for having me on here again.
I want to continue this so much more.
Me too.
Bye, darling.
Okay. Bye. Ciao.